I'm going to read Bindiya plus passes by. Okay, we continue with our series of short stories. This story today, these are from the book Collected Short Stories by Ruskin Bond. And today's story is titled Bindiya Passes By. It goes like this. While I was walking home one day along the path through the pines, I heard a girl singing. It was summer in the hills, and the trees were in new leaf. The walnuts and cherries were beginning to form between the leaves. The wind was still, and the trees were hushed, and the song came to me clearly. But it was not the words, which I could not follow, or the rise and fall of the melody which held me in thrall, but the voice itself, which was a young and tender voice. I left the path and scrambled down the slope, slipping on fallen pine needles. But when I came to the bottom of the slope, the singing had stopped and there was no one there. I'm sure I heard someone singing, I said to myself, and then thought I might have been wrong. In the hills, it's always possible to be wrong. So I walked on home, and presently I heard another song. But this time it was the whistling thrush rendering a broken melody, singing in a dark, sweet secret in the depths of the forest. Singing a dark, sweet secret in the depth of the forest. I had little to sing about myself. The electricity bill hadn't been paid, and there was nothing in the bank, and my second novel had just been turned down by another publisher. Still, it was summer, and men and animals were drowsy, and so too were my creditors. The distant mountains loomed purple in the shimmering dust haze. I walked through the pines again, but I did not hear the singing. And then for a week I did not leave the cottage, as the novel had to be rewritten, and I worked hard at it, pausing only to eat and sleep and take note of the leaves turning a darker green. The window opened onto the forest. Trees reached up to this window, oak and maple and walnut. Higher up the hill, the pines started, and further on, armies of devdars marched over the mountains. And the mountains rose higher, and the trees grew stunted until they finally disappeared, and only the black, spirit-haunted rocks rose up to meet the everlasting snows. Those peaks cradled the sky. I could not see them from my windows, but on clear mornings they could be seen from the pass on Tehri Road. There was a stream at the bottom of the hill. One morning, quite early, I went down to the stream and, using the boulders as stepping stones, moved downstream for about half a mile. Then I lay down to rest on a flat rock in the shade of a wild cherry tree and watched the sun shifting through the branches as it rose over the hill called Paritibba. Paritibba means fairy hill, and slid down this steep slope into the valley. The air was very still, and already the birds were silent. The only sound came from the water running over the stony bed of the stream. I had lain there 10, perhaps 15 minutes, when I began to feel that someone was watching me. Someone in the trees, in the shadows, still and watchful. Nothing moved, not a stone shifted, not a twig broke, but someone was watching me. I felt terribly exposed, not to danger, but to the scrutiny of unknown eyes. So I left the rock and, finding a path through the trees, began climbing the hill again. It was warm work. The sun was up and there was no breeze. I was perspiring profusely by the time I got to the top of the hill. There was no sign of my unseen watcher. Two lean cows grazed on the short grass. The tinkling of their bells was the only sound in the sultry summer air. That song again, the same song, the same singer. I heard her from my window, and putting aside the book I was reading, I leant out of the window and started down through the trees. But the foliage was too heavy and the singer too far away for me to be able to make her out. Should I go and look for her? I wondered. Or is it better this way, heard but not seen? For having fallen in love with a song, must it follow that I will fall in love with the singer? No, but surely it is the voice and not the song that has touched me. Presently the singing ended, and I turned away from the window. A girl was gathering bilberries on the hillside. She was fresh-faced, honey-colored. Her lips were stained with purple juice. She smiled at me. Are they good to eat? I asked. She opened her fist and thrust out her hand, which was full of berries, bruised and crushed. I took one and put it in my mouth. It had a sharp, sour taste. It is good, I said. Finding that I could speak haltingly in her language, she came nearer. Take more then, and filled my hand with bilberries. Her fingers touched mine. The sensation was almost unique, for it was 9 or 10 years since my hand had touched a girl's. Where do you live? I asked. She pointed across the valley to where a small village straddled the slopes of a terraced hill. It's quite far, I said. Do you always come so far from home? I go further than this, she said. The cows must find fresh grass, and there is wood to gather and grass to cut. She showed me the sickle held by the cloth, tied firmly about her waist. Sometimes I go to the top of Paritibba, sometimes to the valley beyond. Have you been there? No, I said, but I will go someday. It's always windy on Paritibba. Is it true that there are fairies there? I asked. She laughed. That's what people say. But those are people who have never been there. I do not see fairies on Paritibba. It is said that there are ghosts in the ruins on the hills. But I do not see any ghosts either. I've heard of the ghosts, I said. Two lovers who ran away and took shelter in a ruined cottage. At night there was a storm and there was a lightning strike which killed them both. Is it true, this story? Oh, it happened many years ago, before I was born. I've heard this story too, but there are no ghosts in Paritibba, said the girl. How old are you? I asked. 15, 16, I do not know for sure, she said. Doesn't your mother know? She is dead, and my grandmother has forgotten. And my brother, he is younger than me, and he has forgotten his own age. Is it important to remember? She asked. No, it's not important, I said. Not here anyway. Not in the hills. To a mountain, 100 years are but a day. Are you very old? She asked. I hope not. Do I look very old? I asked. Only 100, she said and laughed. And the silver bangles on her wrists tinkled as she put her hands up to her laughing face. Why do you laugh? I asked. Because you looked as though you believed me. How old are you? She asked. 35, 36, I do not remember. It's better to forget, she said. That's true, I said, but sometimes one has to fill in forms and things like that, and then one has to state one's exact age. I have never filled a form. I have never seen one, she said. And I hope you never will. It's a piece of paper covered with useless information. It's all part of human progress. Progress? She asked. Yes. Are you unhappy? No. Do you go hungry? No. Then you don't need progress. Wild berries are better. That's a beautiful statement. Then you don't need progress. Wild bilberries are better. She went away without saying a goodbye. The cows had strayed and she ran after them, calling them by name. Neelu, Neelu, Buri. Her bare feet moved swiftly over the rocks and dry grass. Early May, the cicadas were singing in the forests, or rather orchestrating, since they make this sound with their legs, not with their throats. The whistling thrushes pursued each other over the treetops in acrobatic love flights. Sometimes the langurs visited the oak trees to feed on the leaves. As I moved down the path to the stream, I heard the same singing, and coming suddenly upon the clearing near the water's edge, I saw the girl sitting on a rock, her feet in the rushing water. The same girl who had given me the bilberries. Strangely enough, I had not guessed that she was the singer. Unseen voices conjure up fanciful images. I had imagined a woodland nymph, a graceful, delicate, beautiful, goddess-like creature, not a mischievous-eyed, round-faced, Jewish-stained, slightly ragged pixie. Her dhoti, a rough homespun sari, was faded and torn, an impractical garment, I thought, for running about on the hillside. But the village folk put their girls into dhotis before they are 12. She had compromised by hitching it up and by straightening the waist with a length of cloth bound tightly about her. But she would have been more at ease in the long flounced skirt worn in the hills further away. But I was not disillusioned. I had clearly taken a fancy to her cherubic, open countenance, and the sweetness of her voice added to her charms. I watched her from the banks of the stream, and presently she looked up, grinned, and stuck her tongue out at me. That's a nice way to greet me, I said. Have I offended you? You surprised me. Why did you not call out? Because I was listening to your singing. I did not wish to speak until you had finished. It was only a song, she said. But you sing it sweetly, I said. She smiled. Have you brought anything to eat? She asked. No, are you hungry? I asked. At this time I get hungry. When you come to meet me, you must always bring something to eat, she said. But I didn't come to meet you. I didn't know you would be here. You do not wish to meet me? She asked. I didn't mean that. It's nice to meet you. You will meet me if you keep coming into the forest. So always bring something to eat. I'll do so next time, he said. Shall I pick some berries for you? You will have to go to the top of the hill again to find the kingora bushes. I don't mind if you are hungry. I'll bring some. All right, she said, and looked down at her feet, which were still in the water. Like some knight errant of old, I toiled up the hill again until I found the bilberry bushes, and stuffing my pockets with berries, I returned to the stream. But when I got there, I found she had slipped away. The cowbells tinkled on the far hill. Glowworms shone fitfully in the dark. The night was full of sounds. The tonk-tonk of a nightjar, the cry of a barking deer, the shuffling of porcupines, the soft flip-flop of moths beating against the window panes. On the hill across the valley, lights flickered in the small village, the dim lights of kerosene lamps swinging in the dark. What is your name? I asked when we met again on the path through the pine forest. Bindiya, she said. What is yours? I have no name. All right, Mr. No Name, she said. I mean, I haven't made a name for myself. We must make our own names. Don't you think? Bindiya is my name. I do not wish to have any other. What are you doing? Where are you going? She asked. Nowhere. No name goes nowhere. Then you cannot come with me. Because I am going home and my grandmother will set the village dogs on you if you follow me. And laughing, she ran down the path to the stream. She knew I could not catch up with her. Her face streamed summer rain as she climbed the steep hill, calling the white cow home. She seemed very tiny on the windswept mountainside. A twist of hair lay flat against her forehead, and her torn blue dhoti clung to her firm round thighs. I went to her with an umbrella to give her shelter. She stood with me beneath the umbrella and let me put my arm around her. Then she turned her face up to mine, wonderingly, and I kissed her quickly, softly on the lips. Her lips tasted of raindrops and mint. And then she left me there, so gallant in the blistering rain. She ran home laughing, but it was worth the drenching. Another day I heard her calling to me, "No name, Mr. No Name." But I couldn't see her. And it was some time before I found her halfway up a cherry tree, her feet pressed firmly against the bark. Her dhoti tucked up between her thighs, fair rounded thighs, her legs that were strong and vigorous. "The cherries are not ripe," I said. "They are never ripe, but I like them green and sour. Will you come on to the tree?" "If I can still climb a tree," I said. "My grandmother is over 60 and she can climb trees." "Well, I won't mind being more adventurous at 60. There's not so much to lose then." I climbed onto the tree without much difficulty, but I did not think the higher branches would take my weight. So I remained standing in the fork of the tree, my face on a level with Bindiya's breasts. I put my hand against her waist and kissed her on the soft inside of her arm. She did not say anything, but she took me by the hand and helped me to climb a little higher, and I put my arm around her, as much to support myself as to be close to her. The full moon rides high, shining through the tall oak trees near the window. The night is full of sounds, crickets and the tonk-tonk of a nightjar, floating across the valley from your village, the sound of drums beating and people singing. It is a festival day and there will be feasting in your home. Are you going singing too tonight? And are you thinking of me as you sing, as you laugh, as you dance with your friends? I am sitting here alone, so I have no one to think of but you. Bindiya, I take your name again and again, as though by taking it I can make you hear me and come to me, walking over the moonlit mountain. There are spirits abroad tonight. They move silently in the trees. They hover about the window at which I sit. They take up with the wind and rush about the house. Spirits of the trees, spirits of the old house. An old lady died here last year. She had lived in the house for over 30 years. Something of her personality surely dwells here still. When I look into the hall, the old mirror which was hers, I sometimes catch a glimpse of her pale face and long golden hair. She likes me, I think, and the house is kind to me. Would she be jealous of you, Bindiya? The music and singing grows louder. I can imagine your face glowing in the firelight. Your eyes shine with laughter. You have all those people near you. and I have only the stars and the night jar and the ghost in the mirror. I woke early while the dew was still fresh on the grass and walked down the hill to the stream and then up to a little knoll where the pine tree grew in solitary splendor, the wind going hoo-hoo in its slender branches. This was my favorite place, my place of power, where I came to renew myself from time to time. I lay on the grass, dreaming. The sky in its blueness swung around above me. An eagle soared in the distance. I heard her voice down among the trees, or I thought I heard it. But when I went to look, I could not find her. I had always prided myself on my rationality, had taught myself to be wary of emotional states, like falling in love, which turned out to be ephemeral and illusory. And although I told myself again and again that the attraction was purely physical, on my part as well as hers, I had to admit to myself that my feelings towards Bindiya differed from the feelings I had had for others, and that while sex had often been for me a celebration, it had, like any other feast, resulted in satiety, a need for change, a desire to forget. Bindiya represented something else, something wild, dreamlike, fairy-like. She moved close to the spirit-haunted rocks, the old trees, the young grass. She had absorbed something from them, a primeval innocence, an unconcern with the passing of time and events, an affinity with the forest and the mountains, and this made her special and magical. And so when 3, 4, 5 days went by and I did not find her on the hillside, I went through all the pangs of frustrated love. Had she forgotten me and gone elsewhere? Had we been seen together, and was she being kept at home? Was she ill, or had she been spirited away? I could hardly go and ask for her. I would probably be driven from the village. It straddled the opposite hill, a cluster of slate roof houses, a pattern of little terrace fields. I could see figures on the fields, but they were too far away, too tiny for me to be able to recognize anyone. She had gone to her mother's village 100 miles away or so, a small boy told me. And so I brooded, walked disconsolately through the oak forest, hardly listening to the birds, the sweet-throated whistling thrush, the shrill barbet, the mellow-voiced doves. Happiness had always made me more responsive to nature. Feeling miserable, my thoughts turned inward. I brooded upon the trickery of time and circumstance. I felt the years were passing by, had passed by, like waves on a receding tide, leaving me washed up like a bit of flotsam on a lonely beach. But at the same time, the whistling thrush seemed to mock at me, calling me tantalizingly from the shadows of the ravine. It is in time that is passing by. It is you and I. It is you and I. Then I forced myself to snap out of my melancholy. I kept away from the hillside and the forest. I did not look towards the village. I buried myself in my work, tried to think objectively, and wrote an article on the inscriptions on the iron pillar at Kalsi. Very learned, very dry, very sensible. But at night I was assailed by thoughts of Bindiya. I could not sleep. I switched on the light, and there she was, smiling at me from the looking glass, replacing the image of the old lady who had watched over me for so long. That's the end of the story. Pretty intriguing and very interesting. Very well written. I liked it. I hope you liked it too. Bye for today. We'll have another story another time. Bye bye. Okay, now I have opened another story, and I think this will be very suitable for our purpose. Oh, oh, it's quite long. Wow, it is very long. "16 pages long. This story is titled